non-recurring item has been recurring over a couple of number of years. But as far as I understand, this is a non-cash item. This is like a equivalent of a goodwill amortization or something like that, right? For whatever reason, like it just continues flowing through for a couple of years. So this is a real non-recurring, non-cash item.
Exactly. Yeah, I do agree.
So it's perfectly fair to add that back.
Yep.
Just let me write this down. I guess turning to this consultancy and restructuring costs, I'm a little bit of two minds on this. On one hand, they've been doing a lot of acquisitions, right? So starting from Nasibe to the 4 acquisitions they've done in Southwestern Europe. And I mean, in doing that, you would hire BCG or whoever to do the market sort of industry reports, and you're going to pay banking fees and all of that. Then once you acquired it, you need to close some shops, you need to restructure a bit. But at the same time, I mean, we're talking about a business which generates like 3 billion in revenue and has thousands of shops. Well, not thousands, but more than 1,000 shops in Europe. I mean, there will always be some consultancy work and some restructuring to be done within an organization of this size, right? So to what extent, I don't want to add it back fully, but to not add back anything doesn't feel right either.
Yep.
From your experience, I mean, the company was the same size back then as it was, it has grown by a bit. But what do you think is a fair number, which fair number of restructuring consulting costs that they could incur per year?
Well, I do believe that, as you said, some of that money actually is acquisition related, and going forward, I don't see any acquisitions particularly anymore.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, that number definitely will go down. On the other hand, if the company really is in dire straits, and if you look at your negative scenario, I think it would be fair to say that there will be substantial restructuring charges, and we're not looking at the restructuring charges. I'm sorry, we're now looking at consulting fees, right?
Whichever way you want to, because I initially I grouped them, but maybe it makes sense to discuss them separately. Yeah.
Yeah, because in terms of consulting fees, if the company is struggling, I'm sure at some point they will have to have restructuring experts, special consulting people on the ground, and these guys are really expensive, and management is not really in control of these expenses, because very often the bankers sort of recommend, if you know what I mean, to retain their services. And they know about that, so you're not really negotiating with them. They just tell you what they charge. And this is
sorry, but are you now talking about sort of costs in case of a debt restructuring, or?
Not just debt restructuring. If the company, let's say, if you look at your negative scenario, and if that was to materialize, I think 2 years down the road, what we would see is substantial consulting costs resulting from special consultants just focusing on restructuring struggling enterprises. And these guys are sometimes even more expensive than the McKinsey's or the Boston Consulting strategy consultants.
Let me throw out a couple of numbers to set the scene for this. So in between, I'm going to rattle up the numbers from 2014 to 2017. Yeah, the public numbers on that for a sum of consulting and restructuring costs. So just give me a second. So in 14, the sum of the two was 56 million. Then in 15, it was 37. Then 38, and then 36. In the meantime, they were doing acquisitions, right? So, I mean, we're talking about sort of mid-double-digit amounts.